This is Line Break. I'm T.D. Walker. In this episode, we're looking at a couple poems from H.D., born Hilda Doolittle on September 10, 1886, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. She was a contemporary of Amy Lowell, whose poems I read in a previous episode, as well as that of Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. Like Lowell, she was a significant member of the Imagist movement in poetry, one that moved away from abstract, excessive language of the 19th century poetry in favor of a focus on images and plain language. The two poems I've chosen for today take as their starting point Greek mythic figures, Circe and Orion. Both of these lives have been written about by poets prior to H.D.'s treatment of them. Hers, however, embody the modernist approach to poetry. You'll hear that her language is almost cold, almost distant, and that the images drive the emotion of the poems. Let's begin with H.D.'s poem Circe. In Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus and his crew are sailing home from the Trojan War. They arrive at the island on which Circe lives, and she changes most of Odysseus's men into swine until he talks her into changing them back. Odysseus then lives with her for a year until he sails home to his faithful wife. Circe. It was easy enough to bend them to my wish. It was easy enough to alter them with a touch. But you, adrift on the great sea, how shall I call you back? Cedar and white ash, rock cedar and sand plants, and tamarisk, red cedar and white cedar, and black cedar from the inmost forest, fragrance upon fragrance, and all of my sea magic is for naught. It was easy enough. A thought called them from the sharp edges of the earth. They prayed for a touch. They cried for the sight of my face. They entreated me, till in pity I turned each to his own self. Panther and panther, then a black leopard follows close. Black panther and red, and a great hound, a godlike beast, cut the sand in a clear ring, and shut me from the earth, and cover the sea sound with their throats, and the sea roar with their own barks, and bellowing, and snarls, and the sea stars, and the twirl of the sand, and the rock tamarisk, and the wind resonance, but not your voice. It is easy enough to call men from the edges of the earth. It is easy enough to summon them to my feet with a thought. It is beautiful to see the tall panther and the sleek deerhounds circle in the dark. It is easy enough to make cedar and white ash fumes into palaces and to cover the sea caves with ivory and onyx. But I would give up rock fringes of coral and the inmost chamber of my island palace and my own gifts and the whole region of my power and magic for your glance. The next is Orion dead, in the voice of Artemis. In various versions of the Greek myths, Orion, the great hunter, is killed either by a scorpion sent by Gaia or by Artemis herself. Orion is placed among the stars, either by Artemis or by her father Zeus. Orion dead, by H.D. Artemis speaks. The cornel trees uplift from the furrows. The roots at their bases strike lower through the barley sprays. So arise and face me. I am poisoned with the rage of song. I once pierced the flesh of the wild deer. Now am I afraid to touch the blue and the gold-veined hyacinths? I will tear the full flowers and the little heads of the grape hyacinths. I will strip the life from the bulb until the ivory layers lie like narcissus petals on the black earth. Arise, lest I bend an ash tree into a taut bow and slay and tear all the roots from the earth. The cornel wood blazes and strikes through the barley sprays, but I have lost heart for this. I break a staff. I break the tough branch. I know no light in the woods. I have lost pace with the winds. You can hear Artemis's despair here in plain language, bolstered by the images of the torn-apart flowers and the roots torn from the earth. H.D.'s is a powerful rendering of the myth, made more powerful by the poet's craft. This has been Line Break. All poems read in this episode are in the public domain. To find links to more about H.D. as well as her poems read on this episode, visit my website, tdwalker.net/linebreak.